All right. So, as the rest of our crew joins us, I just wanted to welcome you guys all today. For those of you who don't know, we have these webinars every Thursday. It's a collaboration between myself and the Latino Coalition to support the most amazing people on the planet. That would be you, my nonprofit leaders. My purpose, my passion, my reason for being here is to support you because you guys are doing the hard work in the community, and the Latino Coalition recognizes that and want to provide you with support. So let's get it going. Today, we are going to talk about systems, and specifically from the space of how to deliver on funders' requests. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, I am a nonprofit consultant, but my primary focus is on fund development because I believe that with money, there are options. And so, one of the biggest challenges with securing funds is is meeting eligibility. A funder will ask you for financial statements. A funder will ask you for impact data. A funder will ask you for all of this information. And it's not that you're not doing the work. A lot of the times, it's just that um, it hasn't been tracked, and it hasn't been put in a way that a funder can understand that you are the most qualified for the funding. So today we're going to talk about that. Specifically, we're going to talk about streamlining processes to increase your capacity. Because I was an executive director, I understand how it goes down. There's quite a few of you who are doing everything, and we want to increase your capacity. Increasing your capacity doesn't mean that we take two things off of your plate so that you can do six more. No, no. Increasing your capacity means that we take off six things and then we take off five more things so that you're really only doing what you're supposed to do, is the executive director role, not the accountant's role, not the grant writer's role, not the program coordinator's role, but like executive director. Because when you can do the executive director's position powerfully, then you can contribute to long-term sustainability for your organization. When you're doing 17 things, it's just a challenge to grow your organization at the pace that it could, because you're doing all things. So we're going to talk about streamlining processes to increase your capacity. We're going to talk about how systems help to demonstrate impact, and then how systems are used to create a sustainable nonprofit. Again, for those of you who do not know me, I am Amber Wynn, a 30-year nonprofit veteran. I have done everything, y'all, from emptying the trash to giving out $7 million annually as a funder. And in these webinars, I come to you from different perspectives. Usually it's from a funder, because as grassroots and small nonprofits, nonprofits of color, we don't typically have the insider track on what it is that a funder's thinking. I know I didn't when I was executive director. If I had the knowledge, I would have been more powerful more quickly. So I share with you those insights to help you understand exactly what it is that a funder wants. Because at the end of the day, it's about getting that money. You get that money, you do the work in the community, and we make this world a better place. But I have been a programs administrator, grant writer. My largest grants for $3.2 million. I've reviewed several RFPs. So I have a different perspective on things. And today you will understand what I mean by different perspective. Usually when people talk about technology, they're talking about, oh, your accounting system and your, yes, all of these things are important, but I want you to see it from a different perspective. Remember, we're talking about increasing capacity, your capacity as a leader. So that's one of the lenses we're going to look at. We're also going to look at impact, right? We're going to look at how you can demonstrate to a funder that you can deliver on whatever it is that our RFP is calling for. If it's $250,000, you can do it. We're also going to talk about sustainability, how to grow your organization financially. All of this through the lens of systems. But before we get started, what type of systems does your organization use? Do you have accounting systems? Do you have a CRM, a client relations management system? Bill payment system? Or do you have a compliance system? Do you have all of the above? What kind of systems are you working with your nonprofit? And if you don't have any, tell me. All right, Heather, way to go. Anybody else? What type of systems do you work with? Are you working with right now in your nonprofit? Accounting and bill payment. All right, wonderful, wonderful. A compliance system would be a system that tracks your data um, so that you can submit for your 990s, so that you can file for the Attorney General's office, so that you can file with the state. So it's a way for you to gather all of your information so that you can, do the reporting. Yep, I'm gonna get to that. Thank you, Heather. Okay, so before we get started, I want to follow me here. Most of us as nonprofits are direct service deliverers, yes? And so what's important to understand is that as a direct service deliverer, there is something called a client journey. And the client journey is when your client comes into the organization and then when it leaves. This is important when we talk about systems, because people tend to look at systems as this thing that we pay for and we don't really know how to use it. And I want to give you a framework so that you can understand the value of your system. So really quickly, this is a typical client journey. You do outreach, right? You go to the community and you say, hey guys, we've got programs, we've got services, we want to help you, or you're doing outreach so that you can get collaborators or whatever. People get to know you, your services, what you're providing. So that's the first step, outreach, visibility, right? The second thing is intake. So you're at this booth, or you're at this, you're giving this webinar, and you say, hey, fill out this information form if you're interested, and we'll follow up. Here's a flyer of the services that we have. um, uh, Enrollment. So now that they've come in, they're like, hey, yeah, I really want to be a part of this organization. I like what it is that you're doing. It's typically when they fill out your application. Intake is more about filling out the eligibility, right? Can you give us your financial documents, whether that's an award letter, your stubs, or whatever? Enrollment is like, yes, you meet the eligibility criteria. Come on in. We want to provide services to you. Typically, you'll do some type of assessment to find out where they are, what their needs are, what type of services that they qualify for or that they need. Then you actually provide the services, right? You look at like, okay, hey, this is what they need. They need training. They need remedial services. They need wraparound support services. And then they do the work. Say, for example, they need educational enrichment. They'll do the GEDs, they'll do the, right? Or if it's skills enhancement, workforce, whatever, you're giving them the training, right? And then after that, they graduate. This is typically, or they leave the organization. This is typically your client journey, right? From beginning to end. This is important because when we get to talking about what the system does and how it benefits you, then you'll understand. But I wanted you to see the client journey, because when we talk about you and the infrastructure and how you can manage them, a CRM is a really important investment. Client relations management platform, right? Why? Because when we talk about outreach, if you have a system that can track your partners, your locations, the number of attendees, the number of signups, the number of activities. Now you have that data. You have it in one location. And when a funder says to you, what is your impact? They always want to know, how many partners do you have? How many collaborations? How many people did you see? Your CRM would track that in the space of outreach, right? Then intake. Your funder wants to know, how many people are actually eligible. Well, you get to learn that. It's stored in your CRM, and you can tell them, listen, we had these many people, and this is, where we got them from, this geographical location. But here's the thing, with your CRM, you can reduce manual processes. Typically what happens is during the intake process, you have someone who's like, okay, I'm going to go through the application, and then in my Excel sheet, I'm going to, put down, each applicant, so what their geographical zip code is. That is a lot of manual work. However, if you had a CRM, you can reduce that by 50%. That's a whole half of a position, right? You can get things to auto populate. So you've got these intake forms, and now you want people to come register. Well, typically what happens is you'll have a person call and say, hey, this is Amber. We have a class starting on Thursday. Wanted to know, if you have a CRM, it can auto populate your emails, your letters, and send it out to them. Hey, we've got these classes coming in. Click this link, da 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 da, right? And it pushes your clients to the next phase, which is enrollment. And you have things that are standardized. So no longer do you have to worry about people, saying, oh, well, I didn't get that information. I didn't get the same information. If it's standardized, everybody's getting the same information. And it reduces the miscommunication. It reduces the lag in services. Because you say, Patricia, did you call those people? And she was like, oh, I was going to do it after lunch, but then, so-and-so told me to do X, Y, and Z. And so I didn't get to it. It can be automated, right? Also, you can track the number of participants real time, the services, the referrals, the linkages. And when we talk about assessment, so you've had your people, you know what they need because they've done a test. Well, you can track the trends. With a CRM, when you put the data and information, you push a couple of buttons, it's called a query, you do a report, and now you can say, you know what? People from this zip code, 90250, all tend to be lacking in this, or seems to be a great need in this area for this type of service, because you're doing it based off of the trend, right? Off of a zip code, or you can do it by gender, you can do it by age group. Also, you can track the consistency in your training. It looks like when we get to this topic, half of our people drop off, or we don't seem to have a lot of enrollment in this. Over the last 3 years, we only had 20% of people to enroll in this class, right? And guess what? Your staff's capacity will be increased because they're not sitting here going through Excel sheets saying, oh, well, in 2021, 15 people did this. In 2023, they did that. You can just push a button, run a report, bada bing, bada bang, you got your stats. And then finally, you can rank the skills. We've learned that over the last 3 years, 80% of our participants have taken an electrician training course, and now we have 50% of our people who are in trade. You can do that with the CRM because you push the little button and you do the query, and it gives you your information. Also, when your funder says, tell us about your impact. What impact have you made in the community? Well, I can tell you from 2017 to 2023, this is the number of graduates that we've graduated. These are the number of attendees who've come to our events. These are the number of partners who've helped us to train our participants. Here are the number of vendors that we work with. This is the information that is going to move you to the top when you are applying for grants. This is the information that your funder wants to see to demonstrate that if I give you $250,000, how will I know that I get a return on my investment? This right here, this data right here is going to give the funder everything that they need. But what typically happens, especially in the startup phase, because let's just be real, we don't have a lot of money. We're like, I don't have the money for CRM because they're not cheap, right? But here's what I want you to think. We're going to shift the mindset. When you're having fundraisers and you're saying, hey, we need money for programs and this and that, in particular for my nonprofits who you're doing everything, right? If you're an executive director and you're doing everything, I want you to look at a CRM as an investment to increasing your capacity, to increasing your sustainability. As we all know, there's a high turnover rate in the nonprofit sector. We know why, because we get tired because we're doing everything. What I say to my small nonprofits is, when you're thinking about what to fundraise for, yes, your salary is important. It should be number one. The second thing you should think about investing is a CRM, a client relations management system, because it can do all of this. You can save money on 2 whole positions, because think about it. If you've got somebody doing the intake, you've got somebody doing the enrollment, you got somebody, 2 people you can eliminate with this system. Now, 2 people, depending on where you are in the country, I am in California, that can be between $30,000 to $40,000. But that $30,000 to $40,000 also comes with payroll taxes, right? It also comes with payroll increases. If I were writing a grant to a funder, I would say, in order to increase my effectiveness, my efficiency, I would like to invest in a CRM. What it's going to do is to help me be more effective. How? And then I would list these things. It would reduce manual processes. It would allow me to be more accurate with my data collection. I can identify trends. So if you didn't know it, there are funders out there who will pay for a CRM. You've just got to position it the right way. Take a screenshot of this page right here, and then the next time your board or your leadership team says, okay, guys, we're going to fundraise. What is it that we need? You need a CRM, especially if you are a solopreneur. That's that executive director doing everything. You make the case to your board if they have any decision making. If it's just you, then you think about how you can fundraise for this CRM, because what it's going to do is increase your capacity. What it's going to do is allow you to define your impact succinctly and to provide the funders what they're asking for. I'm telling you, I tell my startup organizations, put this on your list, high on your list, a CRM, especially if you know you're not in a position to hire. Here's the thing, the difference between hiring a person and a CRM is if your money gets funny, you don't have to lay off a CRM. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, from a business perspective, which is how I approach all of the financial decisions for my nonprofit, what is going to make the best sense? When you are solid in terms of your revenue coming in, yes, you definitely want to hire people, because people are going to actually do the outreach, right? People are going to be the face of your organization. But if you are doing everything, your goal is to preserve yourself. Just saying. CRM. Any questions about that? And do you see how an investment in a CRM could really help catapult you? Okay. All right. When we talk about the infrastructure, it's also important to understand what that means in the nonprofit. A lot of times when you're just starting out, you, like I said, you don't have the money to hire staff, but you do you do have volunteers. Volunteers aren't any different than staff, except for they're a little bit more complicated, because guess what? They're not getting paid, right? They're not getting paid. They're showing up because they believe in your mission, they believe in you and the organization, but you still have to manage them. And in the space of managing them, they are what a funder would consider an asset. When you say, how are you making an impact in the community? Well, guess how many volunteer hours we have? That is a commitment from your community. When people volunteer for your programs and services, to deliver your programs and services, that is a commitment from your community, right? That is involvement, dedication. Also, having volunteers helps to increase your capacity again, because they're doing the work that then you don't have to do. So even if you have staff, volunteers help them. So they may be running programs and, they're like, oh, okay, can you help me? So the ratio for adults to children needs to be 1 to 10. But you've got 50. So you have volunteers in the room to help with the ratio. You can do things with your CRM, tracking hours. You can match them with, like, they can, when they fill out their profile, they say, I really like to work with kids, or I really don't like to work with kids. Those things can be tracked in your CRM so that you can match them, so that you have effectiveness in your volunteer management program. What you don't want to do is put Amber Wynn with little bitty kids. Miss Wynn, Miss Wynn, don't touch me. Love the babies, but I prefer the teenagers. Talk to me. People are like, I don't want those teenagers. They have attitudes. Those are that's my tribe right here. So if you have a CRM and you have a list of volunteers, let's just say you have 50 volunteers. Do you really want to comb through a whole file and look at what the profile says, and then look at what services you provide? You can do a query. You can say, okay, who checked off the box for their preferences for teenagers? You press that button, bloop, 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 bloop. Amber Wynn. She's the only crazy one who wants to work with these teenagers. Bam, we have somebody, right? So when we talk about increasing time management and aligning skills to assignments, you can do that with the CRM, and it makes you more effective. Grant management. This is the most important part of a CRM. And I say it's the most important part, y'all, because y'all know I focus on the money, right? But with the CRM, look at all the things you can do. You can track your spending, right? Your expenses. What type of supplies did you purchase? You can allocate and track those to your funding sources. So for example, if a foundation gives you $10,000, but you can only spend it on materials and supplies, in your CRM, you can track that. So when you purchase t-shirts, you put t-shirts, and then you put Amber Wynn Foundation. So now you have a record of that, right? If they say, okay, this is strictly for salaries, you put that in the CRM so that when you do the reports, it says, boom, this is what I spent it on. Your CRM can help you to become more effective, right? Not only that, but in terms of data management for your grant, you want to be able to say, how many people attended this program, right? Because you want to be able to report out. Well, we said we were going to serve 25, we had 50 show up. Or we said we were going to serve 25, we had 10 show up. We need to know why. In your CRM, you're going to put notes. Well, bad weather. There was a pandemic. There was gang involvement. All of that is in the CRM. So when it comes time for your reporting, bloop, 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 all the information is right there. Listen, all bad information ain't bad information. I had an incident here in South Central where we said we were going to take our kids from urban communities, take them so they can play in the park. Well, didn't take into consideration we had to traverse 3 gang territories, right? We had Hoover, we had the Crips, we had Pyrus. So my kids are like, I don't know where you're going, but I'm not going there. So we didn't meet the goal, right? So I had to go back to the program officer and say, ooh, what we learned is that it's not safe to have our kids walk through 3 gang territories. So we need a van. So you see that information then positioned us. We have to worry about the safety of our kids. Now it helped us to see the need that we had. So then I reapplied and they gave us a van. And then we took our kids, we drove them through those territories to the park where they could then, play in green space. But if we didn't have this information stored, it doesn't allow us to see the picture. Excel sheets are fine if that's all you have. I'm never going to knock it. But if you can see trends, if you can see trends of what happened, show gaps or things that you can't even see just by looking at an Excel sheet. You can see those in a CRM. You know what I mean? So with grant management, it's also important to help you to develop a donor strategy. For example, in a CRM, you're going to list all of your donors' names, even if they give $5. Because here's the thing, if you had 10 people give $5 every month for 2 years, they are committed to your organization. You can't see that on an Excel sheet. Well, you can, but you just got to go through it. You can run a report on a CRM that says 20 people gave $5 every month for 2 years. Let's go tap those people. Let's see if we can get them to increase that to $25. Let's go see if we can get them to increase that to $100. Or how about this? Of those 20 people, 10 of them supported our sports program. Let's see if we can get them to be a major donor. Tell them, hey, we've got a waiting list. We've got a waiting list of youth who want to participate in our sports program. We see that you support that. Would you be interested in making a one-time donation of $1,500? Because we're trying to purchase a van. You can only do that type of strategy if you understand your donors. And again, you can do that in an Excel sheet, but it's going to take some time. So when we talk about sustainability in your organization, when we talk about people say to me, well, how do I get more individual donors? You start with the people who have demonstrated to you, right, that they are interested in your organization, people who donate, people who volunteer, but you've got to know what they like. You've got to know what they're passionate about, and then you can create a pitch around it. If you don't know, then you can't create a strategy. So having that data can help you to increase your revenue by 3 times. I've done it. I'm like, this lady keeps giving to our media literacy program, and it's just $25. It's $25. And I called her up. I'm like, hi, Miss Johnson, this is Amber Wynn. I want to thank you for your support. I've noticed that you support our media literacy program. What is it that you like about it? I mean, I'm so excited. Thank you. She's like, I think it's important for young girls to have a positive image. I don't see anybody else out there. I'd like to see a bigger campaign. And I was like, well, what would that look like to you? And she's like, well, maybe the girls can do some commercials and da 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 da. And she just had these amazing ideas. I'm like, that is exciting. Is that something you think you can get behind financially? And she's like, well, how much do you think that would cost? Listen, I can come back with a proposal to you in about 3-4 days. I put together a proposal. She was like, yes, let's do it. The only reason I could do that, I could strategize, is because I had the data. I had the information that she was contributing to our media literacy program. I made the phone call. I listened to what she had in her mind. But if I'd never made the phone call, she would have just continued to giving to that program, which was fine. But guess what? We got 3 times the donation because I had the information. And it wasn't because it wasn't in an Excel sheet, y'all, because there's no way in the world Amber, executive director, Girls Inc. LA, had the time for that. But when I'm running reports and I'm looking, and listen, I'm looking at the charts, the bar charts. I'm not looking at words. I don't have time for that. With the CRM, you can do bar charts, you can do comparisons, compare giving over 3 years. And bloop, 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 bloop. Compare giving for the media literacy program over 3 years. Bloop, 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 bloop. So in my role as executive director and grant writer and fund developer, I had to figure out ways to make it happen. I had to grow our funding base, and I used the CRM to do it. And I said to my board, listen, I've gotten 3 major donors from this CRM. It was an investment worth happening. So when we talk about reporting, like, that's a no-brainer. Your funders are always going to ask you for reports. What did you do with my money? How did you do it? A CRM will allow you to collect and manage your data in one location. You don't want folders over here. It's just a lot of work, right? You can do things like keep your case management notes all in one area. So if there's an issue, you just go back to the database and say, okay, my person said in here that there was a death in the family. You don't have to go and track that person down. It's hard to do that with Excel sheets. Yes, you can keep them on a shared drive. Yes, but if you have a CRM, you put in the person's name and it comes up. You've got the case notes, you've got the letters to the court, you've got their certificates of completion, because they're all uploaded into one data system. You can say this person graduated, these people graduated, how many people graduated last year? Bloop, bloop, bloop. How many people from a specific geographical area, because you're going to do a pitch to your elected official. You can say, hey, elected official, out of all of our graduates, which was 100, 50% came from your area. And guess what? Of those that came from your area, 100% graduated. We'd love for you to support our organization because there's a need in your area, but you have to have the data. You have to have the data, and having a CRM is definitely going to increase your capacity. It's going to increase your staff's capacity. And it's just going to make your life easier. Let's see. Funding. With the CRM, there are so many things that you can do. It depends on the needs of your organization, but I use my CRM to increase my revenue streams. So a lot of these CRMs have you can upload videos and so what I would do is I would upload videos, use them for fee for services. What does that mean? Say, for example, we had a parenting class. Instead of having my staff teach the parenting class every time from 7 to 9, right? So they got upset because they're away from their families, right? I would have them record them, put them on our server, our intranet, which is usually what comes with the CRM. And then I would say to my parents, here is what you can do. You can take these parenting classes that the court says you have to do. You pay us $25 and boom. So now we've got a stream of revenue. We're providing training to our parents. It's the same every time because it's the same video every time. We can document that they took the training class because it's recorded, right? So now we've increased our staff's capacity. They're not staying after hours. Our parents can take these courses 24 hours when it's most convenient for them. They're going to pay for that, right? $25. We've got a revenue stream. So there are things that you can do with a CRM that's going to free up your space, that's going to increase your capacity, and that's going to allow you to fundraise. Some of these CRMs, you can use them like if you have a gala, you put the person's name, you have a iPad, and it automatically goes into your CRM. If they did like silent auction, boom, 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 boom. So then you can track them and say, okay, they made a pledge, we need to follow up. So when we talk about fundraising with the CRM, they tend to have all of these different features. Now, they are not cheap, but the investment, I need you to understand the investment. They will pay for themselves. They will pay for themselves in terms of burnout, in terms of strategy, in terms of forecasting, in terms of helping you to streamline processes, right? You have one person teaching this way and another person teaching that way. Well, this person, you like the way they teach, have them record some videos, put them up on the website. It's standardized. Is this making sense to you guys? I am going to share with you a link from Capterra, where they break down what types of CRMs are best for what types of nonprofits. They give you the costs, they tell you what the features are. I'm going to provide you guys with all of that, okay? But let's talk a little bit about what type of leadership phase you're in. Are you an executive director doing it all? And by that, I mean, you may be telling people we, but at the end of the day, we are the ones doing the networking. We are the ones writing the grant. We are the ones delivering the programs. It's just you. Is that you? Or are you in partnership with your board of directors? Meaning maybe you just started up and you and your board are the ones actually delivering the programs because you can't afford to hire staff right now. Are you in partnership with the board? And when I say partnership, I mean they're doing stuff. Not that you have a board and you say we are in partnership, but they're actually shoulder to shoulder with you. Or Is it you plus your volunteers? Are they showing up and taking off some of the stress of your work, really doing the work? Or do you have paid staff? Where are you guys in your phase of leadership with your organization? Can you share with me in the chat, please? Okay, got it. All right. Any more? Good, good, good. All right. It feels like we're across the board, actually, right? Some of you are doing it all. Some of you have paid staff. When we talk about capacity, as I said before, we want to get you to a place where you're just being the executive director. And what that means is you have to intentionally map that out. This is where I hope you are. And if you aren't, I hope to help you get to. As an executive director, your role is to plan, right? Hey guys, this is what we're going to do for 2023, 2024, right? Then in terms of doing, it's not you actually doing the work. It's you saying, okay, Amber, you're going to do this because you're responsible for programs. Okay, Jennifer, you're going to do this because you're responsible for outreach. Okay, right? So doing means that you're delegating. And then the third thing, when we talk about act, right? That means that you are, and this is what's in a typical executive director's job description, oversee, right? You oversee Jennifer, you oversee Amber, you oversee Mark. That is your role as an executive director. And then finally, so that things don't go off course, your check, right? You're monitoring, you're making sure, you're checking in with your team. All right, we're gonna meet monthly. Okay, Amber, report out. Amber saying da 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 da, and you're like, wait, didn't we have that designated for blah 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 blah? Okay, I need you to follow up with that, and that is what an executive director needs to do. That is my goal, to help you to get there if you're not already there. If you're there and you're already delegating, then kudos to you. The next step then is to help you bring more money into the organization. What does that look like? Well, building your infrastructure, your mission, your program description, your measurable goals and objectives, your annual budget, and your program budgets. This is the infrastructure of the organization. These are the things that need to be in place. Leadership, your board of directors, your temporary staff, your volunteers, your paid staff. And then marketing, your outward facing presentation of your organization. Your website, do you have testimonials and success stories on your website? Your e-newsletter, if you guys don't have one, you need to have one, because that is how you get out into the public, right? Toot your own horn. You're saying, hey guys, look at the amazing things we're doing. Feature 1 or 2 programs. The reason why you want to have an e-newsletter is because you want visibility to your funders. More and more funders are moving towards, oh, we don't accept unsolicited RFPs. Well, how do we get solicited, right? They need to see you. If you have an e-newsletter, then somebody can forward them that newsletter and they can be like, oh, this is amazing work. You can also get metrics from an e-newsletter. If you put 2 stories about your programs and the person click, now you have an idea what it is that they're interested in. You do that for 6 months and you say, hey, Amber, I noticed that, you're looking at our stories about girl empowerment. Would you like to meet to talk about some opportunities, right? But you got to get that data, and e-newsletters are the best way. Here's the other thing. For those of you who are super active on social media and you got 1,000 friends, if social media goes down, so goes your friends. But if you have an e-newsletter, you can, on your social media, click here for more updates. Now you have their email. You want to be in possession of their email. So your case for support, I did a whole webinar on that. You can ask Richard for a copy of that video. Being able to state clearly, succinctly with data, why a funder should provide you with services. And then of course, social media. And then building visibility. As I said before, you want to be able to toot your own horn, right? Feature stories, Listen, we got an award from the mayor. That is important from a funder's perspective. So you put it out there. We have a tendency to be in the weeds and to be in the sand. Why? Because we're doing everything. You have got to put yourself out there. That visibility is what puts you in front of funders and increases, your opportunities to generate revenue. Build collaborations. Funders like to fund collaborations. It's not 1990, you guys, anymore, where you could just, submit that RFP and say, hey, we're doing it. Funders want more bang for their buck. So if you are in collaboration with a similar CBO or a different CBO, that's going to strengthen your submission. People say, well, why a similar CBO? They're my competition. No. If I'm doing youth development and I'm focusing on media literacy and you're doing youth development and you're focusing on job skills, we are not competitors. We are filling the gap without duplicating. That's what funders want to see. Okay, we're going to put together this grant where this organization takes care of this because that's their expertise, and this organization takes care of that because that's their expertise, right? You want to get to know your elected officials. The elected officials control the pipeline of money in your organization. I mean, in your community. They may not give it, but they control it. If you are a collaborator with your elected officials, when the money comes in, somebody's like, oh, well, we're looking to support. They're going to go to, oh, give it to Jody. She has an amazing program. How do they know? Because you've been showing up, right? They know about your programs and your services. So they're going to direct it. They want it to come into their community. Elected officials want to say, oh yeah, you should partner, with Cynthia. She's got an amazing program, because they want to put off that they know their community. So you have to give them the opportunity to know you. That's why the e-newsletter is extremely important too, right? Partnering with academia. If you're not strong with research, partnering with a university is a really great opportunity to get your data and to get it quantifiable, because that's what they do. And they need research and they need to get into the community. Building funding streams. Every nonprofit should have 10 funding streams. They should be restricted, unrestricted, and you should have some passive income. You should be generating revenue while you sleep. We're going to talk about that in one of our upcoming webinars about 10 streams of revenue. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then finally, when we talk about building programs, expanding, meeting the needs of your community, either going further out or including more types of programs, right? You want to make sure that they're innovative and that they increase your reach and your impact. Tracking and reporting. Tell me, what types of things do you think you should track that's going to help demonstrate your impact? What types of things do you think a funder needs to know, or you need to know, in order to demonstrate impact for your organization? Business expenses, program results, accounting transactions, compliance requirements. What do you think? Anybody? Y'all checking emails? Okay,
Business
thank you.
expenses.
Oh, okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yes. Heather, Philip is Philip, right? It's all of the above. Yes, all of the above. All right. And here's why. When we talk about business expenses, these are the things that are going to go on your budget, right? Part of your rent, if you're delivering programs in your office, your salaries, equipment, systems, consultants, payroll, taxes, board development, all of that needs to be covered. I have a lot of times when my funders will say, oh, my budget is $80,000. I'm like, it can't be $80,000. Don't you have rent? Well, yeah. Well, don't you have consultants? Well, yeah. Well, how is it 80? That's a magical $80,000 because they're not including it because they're covering it. You know, in order for your organization to grow, your budget needs to be accurate. So you need to track your business expenses. Your program impact is the most important thing to a funder. How many clients did you serve? Monthly, quarterly, annually? What was the knowledge that they gained, right? What were the skills that they learned? What were the behaviors that they changed? What were the gaps that your organization filled? What type of programming did you have? How do you know it was effective, right? It was effective because the behaviors changed, the skills were learned, what type of collaborations were created. So these are the things you need to track so that when a funder on their RFP asks you about your impact, these are the type of answers that they're looking for. Numbers served, knowledge gained, skills learned, behaviors changed, gaps filled, what type of programming it was, and the collaborations created. Fiscal management is always going to be something that you need to track. Your annual budget lets an organization know if they're struggling, right? If you run out of money midway between your fiscal period, you got some issues, right? Your program budgets, those need to be accurate so that when you are submitting your grants, right? You're hitting the mark. A lot of times funders think, let me ask for less because then there might increase my opportunity of being funded. That is the furthest from the truth. Listen to me. A funder is typically a person from the business sector. And a funder is looking at your budget as a reflection of your organization. If you have somebody down for salaries that, for $24,000, what that says is that person doesn't have skills. You're not going to catch a qualified person accepting that type of salary, right? If you say that a program only costs $24,000, then it says to me that you're not a business person. When you have a budget for $150,000 for a program, that makes sense to me because I'm a business person, right? Listen, there's always more applicants than there is money. As a funder, I'm looking for things to make sense to me. So what we need to do as nonprofit professionals is to start thinking like the funders. You think by submitting a budget for $24,000, they're going to give you the money. We're thinking if your budget is $24,000, you don't know what you're doing. So give them a budget for $150,000. Watch and see how your budget, how your grant outcomes increase. Just try it. Just try it. I'm just saying. And then finally, fundraising and compliance. It's all about tracking, monitoring, measuring. What lessons did you learn? What solutions did you provide? This chart right here is the essence of your successful fund development strategy. The things that you track, how you track them, what you're looking for, and what they say to a funder. Take a screenshot of this, just saying. All right, I was just checking the chat. So this is the last box of things that are important, but they are important. When we talk about building your capacity, when we talk about long-term sustainability, all of these things are important. Eligibility. You have to have your 501c3. That's why it's important that you always, always, always file your 990s on time, because your tax exempt status will be revoked. You may not know it because they typically don't send you out a notice. But if they do, it's because you haven't filed within 3 consecutive years. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, Amber, my tax exempt status has been revoked. I thought my accountant did it. Or we switched accountants and then they didn't do it. Now my tax exempt status has been revoked. Compliance is huge, but eligibility, like you don't know your tax exempt status is revoked, you submit a grant. The first thing a funder has to do is run their do their due diligence. So they're going to run your tax exempt status. They can't give money to you if you don't have a tax exempt status. That's a part of the eligibility. So having these things in place are important, right? Impact. How do you demonstrate your impact? Well, things like sign-in sheets. If you collect sign-in sheets for every program that you deliver, you can then go back and say, we served X amount of people over the years. I say to people all the time, well, how many people did you serve over the year? I think probably about 100. It lets me know that you're not tracking your programs, right? Sign-in sheet. Ideally, it'll be something electronic like an iPad that is connected to your CRM. But if you can't, a paper sign-in sheet so you can track pre and post tests. So you can say, well, before they had these ideas, these behaviors, after our program, now they have these. Or skills, right? Before they couldn't, calculate X, Y, and Z. Now they can. An evaluation, right? Evaluations are good. That's why I ask you guys for evaluations after every webinar, because if I'm not meeting your needs, then I'm wasting your time. You guys, you don't have time to waste. You're out there serving the community. I am so grateful that you take out an hour and a half with me every Thursday to get some knowledge about how to strengthen your organization. And if it's not working, I need to know so that I can give you some things of value. The same thing should happen for you. You're providing training, you're providing services, give an evaluation. Sometimes people, a lot of times people will give you valuable information. You can tweak your programs to make sure you're meeting the needs of your constituents. Otherwise, why bother? Viability. A nonprofit funder is looking to see how viable your organization is. Is it going to be around? If I give you $250,000 for a year, is your organization going to be around after that year? I had one person say to me as a funder, there's a question, explain your sustainability program. What's going to happen after the funding runs out, after the funding that I give you runs out? Their answer was, I'm going to apply for more money. That's not a sustainability plan. That's called welfare. You're expecting me to take care of you. No, you are a business. You're a nonprofit business with a philanthropic purpose. And so I'm going to look at the things that are going to tell me, are you viable? Do you have a budget? Did you submit your 990s? Let me see your audited financial statements. What's your profit and loss? In terms of compliance, you're submitting your 990s, your income tax, that says to me you are functioning as a viable 501c3. When we talk about things like payroll taxes, right? Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, that's compliance. You are a business. If you have W-2 employees, these are the things that you have to take care of as a business. If you're out of compliance with the Attorney General or the Secretary of State, as a funder, I'm not going to fund you, because you're not a viable organization. And then finally, with fundraising, cost savings. Cost savings is when you get things donated like in kind, right? And so now you don't have to take from your budget. You say to somebody, hey, donate these sheets for my homeless shelter and I'll give you a tax write-off. That's cost savings. Otherwise, you would have to pay for it out of your own budget. Partnerships. There's a difference between partnerships and collaboration. Collaboration is when two organizations have equal or same amount, both in bringing in the resources, but also in the collaboration, how you guys work together. A partnership is usually like a corporate sponsor. Your partnership is they're giving you money to do what you need to do. So when people say, oh, can we partner? I'm like, great. How much are you bringing to the table? And they're like, oh. We can collaborate. You bring your resources, I bring my resource. But when you partner, that means you're writing me a check. Words are extremely important when we talk about finances. Subawards and marketing dollars. So these are all of the things as an executive director that you are responsible for. And when it comes to systems, you can leverage your systems to help you accomplish your goals. For example, when we talk about data, right, you need to be able to prove that you spent your money that was allocated in your grants with the budget line item. If Amber Wynn Foundation gave you money specifically to purchase shoes, I need to see that. So Maybe you went out to Nike and you bought 100 shoes for your kids. You want to be able to track that. They have this, I don't know if you guys have noticed, when they have these receipts and they fade, like they fade. I don't know what it is. So I use Adobe Scan, which is what's on the screen, and I take a picture of that receipt. Number one, I don't know. I can't keep up with anything these days. I lose my keys. I lose my phone. So it's a high likelihood that I'm going to lose my receipts. But because I have the scanner on my phone, I scan it and it connects to my CRM. And so now it is stored. So a system that's going to help you track your spending. So as soon as you get that receipt, take a picture of it. It's free. It's in your phone. It's for both the iPhone and the Android. It is a system that you can use to help you track your receipts. When we talk about registration, we said it before, the sign-in sheets, you need to be able to prove that you serve people, right? So there are a lot of systems out there: iLobby, Sign-In App, ProxyClick, The Receptionist, SwipeDone. These systems are in place to help you prove that you actually serve people. You know, you can say, oh, over a year, we had so many people come through our office. They signed up, or you served so many. You can even use this system to say, we have high traffic times, usually between 10 and whatever, because you'll have in these systems when people actually sign in. And you can collect all type of data. This is also good if you have a youth program. You can see where the kids are at all times. You can say, you know, we have a lot of kids sign up for our dance class. So when we talk about tracking, it's important to have a track of who you serve. Registration. Donor management, that one's huge. That's usually where the CRM comes in. Managing things like who your donors are, how much they give, when do they give, how often do they give. So having these types of systems in place to manage your donor information will help you to project, will help you to prospect, will help you to say to your funders, hey, we had a conversation with Amber Wynn last week. We are in negotiations for blah, 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 blah. Sustainability. We have submitted 15 grants. We're waiting for the response, but you can only do that if you have that information. Operations. I have a question for you. How do you justify your salary increases? I had somebody say, salary increase, can I get a salary? How do you justify salary or a salary increase? Is it when you have a funding increase? Is it when you have client increase, staff turnover? Or is it because you're saying, hey, I only pay my staff minimum wage, but the market says I should be paying them $25. So market trends. How do you guys go about justifying your salaries? Anybody? You do have salaries, because some of you said that you had staff. Well, I'll tell you, this is a trick question, because how you justify your salary should be based on your data. Those are the reasons for asking for salary increases, right? There's a funding increase, a client increase, staff turnover, but how you justify it is through your data. Things like, you know, being able to say, well, based off of ratio, we need more staff, right? And here's the thing, we need more money because payroll taxes amount to this. And so that means that we're unable to pay our staff what they are actually should be, you know, what they actually should be paid, because, you know, 26% or 28% of that goes to payroll taxes, but you have to have the data for that. So tracking that is going to be important. How much money did you pay out in payroll taxes? When you're talking to your funder, these are the things that you need to be able to present. Payroll and HR systems. when you have paid staff, you have to pay taxes. And so I had a client who actually paid her staff using Zelle, and it just created so much issues because those taxes weren't being, taken out. This is a system that is important because it's going to help you when you file your taxes, when you file your financial reports to your funder. You can say, this is how much we spent on payroll. This is how much we spent on payroll taxes, right? That's where the money went. And then this is the last section. Where do you store your information? Heather, I think you were asking me, what do you mean by compliance? Is it an Excel sheet? Is it a Google Drive? Is it a CRM? Or is it file folders? Here's the thing. Typically, a funder is always going to ask you for these types of things. They're going to ask you for your taxpayer ID verification, your mission statement, your description of the program, a list of your board of directors, your organization's current and annual operating budget. If you have this information in one location, it's going to be easier for you to submit. It's going to be consistent, right? If you have people rotate in and off your board, you give them the wrong one, or, you've changed your history, you want to store things in one location. And a lot of my people store it in Google Drive. Oh, we have everything in Google Drive. Google Drive, I don't know if you know it, they don't have the same type of, well, actually, they just did an update, so maybe. But they don't have the same type of security that some outside storage management platforms have. I use Small Biz Pro. I'm not a nonprofit, I am a for-profit. And let me tell you why I use Small Biz Pro. It's the next slide. Let's go to this slide. A funder's also going to ask you for your annual operating budget, a copy of your most recent audited financial statements, a 5-year trend of your operating budget, and a current list of major contributors. I use Wave. Wave is free, and it can provide you with each one of these bullets. If you connect Wave to your bank account, you can do a report that talks about transactions. You can create a report, and basically you'll say, what's the word? How much money did I generate over, these 3 years? You just boop, 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 boop. And let me tell you guys, numbers, technology, they're not my friends. I love Wave. I love Wave because it is so simple. You just click the button, and it really, you can say cash flow, click the button, that does it. I'm like, whoo. Profit and loss statement, you push the button, you put in the time period, bloop, 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 bloop. And here's the thing I need you to know. When a funder asks you for a profit and loss statement, they're not asking you for how much you have in the bank. They're asking you, do you have internal controls? So if you have $500 in the bank, give them a profit and loss statement for that $500. What they're looking for is proof that you have internal statements. So you want to give them, they're asking you for a generally accepted accounting practice, which is a profit and loss statement, statement of income, they just want to know that you have internal controls. If you can produce those documents in GAAP format, they're good. So Wave Apps, it's completely free, and it can give you all of those statements. Just saying. Now, back to, the balance sheet. So yeah, Wave Apps can produce that. And for your annual budget, if your bank is connected to Wave Apps, it can help you with your budget. It can tell you how much do you have left in your bank account, so that when you're doing your budget, you can say, ooh, we're running short. Ooh, we had this influx of money, but you need to be able to track it. And Wave Apps can help you do that. Additionally, with compliance, every nonprofit is responsible for filing forms at the state level, at the county level, the local level, and then at the federal level. And sometimes at the city level. What I like about Small Biz Pro is when you put your information in, so let's say you upload your 990, it's going to ask you for when is it due. Why I pay $79 a month is because I'm doing too many things. But Small Biz Pro has a nonprofit rate. I think it's like $20 a month. Why I would invest that amount is because it has an alert. You see over here where it says expiration date, 30, 60, 90 days, or should I say 90, 60, 30 days out. It's going to say, hey, Amber, in 90 days, your 990s are due. Hey, Amber, in 60 days, your franchise tax board thing is due. Your Secretary of State Form SI 100 is due. And so it keeps me on my toes so I don't miss anything. That you don't get with a Google Drive. So to me, because it takes a significant amount if you lose your tax exempt status, it's worth the investment. So if you pay $20 a month, it's cheaper than if you have to refile if you lose your tax exempt status. Are you following me? And it's not just your tax exempt status, it's for each one of the filings that you have to do for to be a nonprofit. It's not just the IRS that you have to report to. So I am going to send you the link for Small Biz Pro. I'm going to send you the link for Wave apps, all of these resources that I'm telling you that I use. I don't like to refer things that I don't use, right? But I'm going to send it to you so that you can, oh, and the article that shows you what the different CRMs are for nonprofits and their costs. So streamlining processes to increase capacity, how systems help demonstrate impact, and how systems are used to create a sustainable nonprofit. That's what we covered today. I know it was a lot of content, but what I hope you walk away with is how systems can help you to be more effective, and not just from the perspective of reporting out, but from the perspective of saving you time, helping you with your fundraising strategy, helping you to be more effective and efficient. I know we tend to look at things as I can do this on my own. I don't have, time to be spending money on that. I believe that it is an investment that will pay off. Systems are an investment that will pay off and help you grow your organization exponentially. After this, you're going to receive an evaluation and an offer to be a part of my newsletter so I can send you more information, because it's hard to squeeze everything into 90 minutes, y'all. But I understand that you guys are, busy and doing everything that you're doing. So I try to get it all in there and leave time for questions. And now is that time. So does anyone have questions about anything that I've covered so far? Hi, Cynthia. Thank you. I have a question. When it comes to systems, I'm just speaking from my experience with clients and other nonprofits. Where would you rank investing in a system, a CRM, a Small Biz Pro? Where would you rank that in terms of priority? Is it high, medium, or low? Like, anyone? Well, I hope after going through this webinar, it's moved up, right? It's moved up because you see the value of investing in a system that's going to help you do your job. That's my goal, is to help increase your capacity, to give you some resources that's going to make your life easier, because otherwise, why bother? Because y'all doing it all, you know what I mean? Yes. Hi, Erica. Here we go. Here is the resource it's to an article about They've ranked the types of CRMs. Listen, a CRM to me is like a pair of heels, right? Everybody can't squeeze their feet. They got different sizes. Some like square toes, some like pointed toes. It's difficult to say, go out and buy Blackbaud, because maybe Blackbaud doesn't have the same features that you need. So this article will say, you know, if you're focused on X, Y, and Z, this is how much it costs. Here are the features. Check it out. It seems to be quite useful. A lot of my clients that I've shared this article with, they're like, oh yeah, we ended up using Classy. Oh, we ended up using da 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 da. But it was based off of the description of the features, and it helped them to whittle down, because there's so many out there. They're like 15, 20, and every day there's more and more. I know you know that, right? So I know also Richard told me that they use a CRM specifically for case management. That's why I wanted to share with you the client journey, so that you're clear about what it is that you're tracking and why you're tracking and how it can be used to provide a funder with the information that they're asking for. I know, CRM, way to go, Philip. I love it when they're simpatico. All right, fam. Well, that's all that I have for you this week. I hope you're able to join me next week. And thank you for all that you do. I mean, that's all I can say. Thank you for all that you do. I'm going to try and continue to provide you with information and resources to help lift the load a little bit. But I do love you. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.